So we're at the shoe healer in Doncaster, and these shoes caught my eye the other day. They were hanging up on the keyboards there, waiting for something to happen to them. They've been there for a few weeks, and they just caught my eye, and they are just beautiful. They are just exactly as you would see a pair of shoes coming in to be repaired. It's not a crazy expensive shoe. This is a Loake design shoe, and it's stamped made in India. No problem with that at all. It's a really soft upper that's come out of shape a little bit. Can you see that there? Look, just, and this out of shapeness here that we can see, these diagonal lines across here, that sort of tells me that this shoe is slightly big for the chap that's wearing them. Just a little bit too big, and his foot's not quite filling the shoe out right, and it's caused it to curl up a little bit there, and you can see it's just out of shape. Now a good shoe tree in there will do it the world of good. We look over and we can see these shoes here. Look, they've got holes in the soles. This is where the big toe is. When I put my hand inside here, and it's fine to do that. You know, these shoes, they don't smell of anything. They've been left a while, I think. But when I put my hand inside there, it's bone dry. I can feel where the big toe is, and it sits just there. So that's a big toe. That's the ball of the foot. The gentleman's worn through the sole, and he's worn through the cork filler, and he's onto the insole, but he's not gone through the insole. Obviously, this is a little bit of, you know, likes to get his money's worth. Gone a little bit too far with that, but nothing that can't be put right. They're just a perfect example of how a shoe gets worn. When we look at this shoe, we turn it over. They've had a repair at some point. So they've had a half sole on here. Look, lovely repair. I'm not sure if we've done this repair. And they've had a standard economical heel on there, which has been finished off really nice. Paul's not here at the moment, but when he gets back, I will ask him, did you do the last repair on these shoes? The gentleman with this shoe has bought a shoe that in the world of shoes, about 65%. There's a lot of dross, a lot of crap shoes, a lot of fashion shoes, but 65% is bought a half decent, more than half decent pair of shoes. Obviously, you know, we've got all the top end shoes, which you'll know about those. These are a Loake design, made in India, and they are fabulous value for money, I've got to say. They really are. Goodyear welted, so we can repair them. Anybody can repair them. That's what the chap has bought. The other thing is, the chap has had a repair done on them, and he's had a half sole on them, which I quite like the idea of. Paul doesn't. Paul's like through sole, through sole, through sole. A lot of our customers know it's going in for repair, through sole. Nothing wrong with a half sole. A couple of half soles and then a complete strip down to a through sole. It's like, and there'll be some of you out there, you know, we've got a tyre that's getting ready on the car, wants replacing. Let's do all four.
Thank you.
There might be absolutely nothing wrong with the rear tyres, but you know, one tyre's a little bit worn, let's do all four. The sole's worn through, let's strip the whole lot off, new heel stacks, new shank, new midsole, new everything, and it's not always necessary. But people like to go down that road. So this chap's bought these shoes, he's had this half sole repair on them, and he's had the economical heel on them, and they have worn perfectly. He's not pushed them over, he's not worn them in any awkward way. His wear is perfection, just exactly under the ball of his foot. I'm going to say this chap is right-handed because he steps forward with his left foot and he pushes off with his right while he steps forward with his left, and that's made this hole here where his big toe is through the sole. He walks dead straight, dead even, and the heel, look at the heel, look, nowhere on the front, nowhere up to there, just that section at the back there, look where it's worn. That's perfect, that's exactly where it should wear. So the guy is walking straight. I don't know the guy, I'm also going to tell you that this guy is not a huge guy, because he's not pushed the shoes out too wide, although the shoe is too big for him. He's not pushed it out, he's not pushed the upper over the side of the welt. He's worn them dead even, dead nice. If he was a huge guy, you would see in here where it drops, where the shank collapses and the shoe drops. This shank on this shoe is absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Now, one other thing we know about this chap is these shoes, I'm not going to say they're his only shoes, but he's worn them a little bit harshly. When we look inside a shoe and it's really dark, the lining is really dark, that's where this shoe hasn't been worn and then put to one side after 2 or 3 days, left to air out and then come back to. This chap has just worn and worn and worn them, and we see that when you pick a shoe up and it's really dark inside. That's the moisture from your foot, a little bit of sweat. Doesn't smell. It smells fresh as a daisy, I promise you. It's absolutely fine. But it's very dark inside, and that's because, like I say, it's not been left to air out in between the wears. So this pair of shoes, the chap's bought the 65% out of the range. He's had a half sole, an economical repair on them, and they've been overworn, as in repetitively overworn. That moisture, the dampness inside that causes the linings to go dark, also helps to cause this problem at the back here. Look, can you see in there where the back lining is worn? Yep, that's a combination of moisture, friction, and it wears away. The moisture softens the leather. The friction as you're walking in the shoe, which I've already said is a little bit big for him, has worn the back linings out. Now, one of our customers recently mentioned, what about if I was putting cream on my shoes, on the uppers, and to save the backs, I put a little bit of cream on there and let it soak into the leather? Would that stop the back linings wearing out? I've no idea. It's a great idea. Somebody should try it and let us know. Bit of cream round the back. You know, I don't mean drowned it in cream, but while you're putting a little bit of neutral cream on the uppers, a little bit round the back, will it save the uppers? So this shoe here, perfect example of a well-worn shoe. In fact, it's such a perfect example of a well-worn shoe. It should be in a glass cabinet with a wooden base and some little lights on it and displayed just like that. That shoe that way, that shoe that way, like that. And a little brass plaque saying well-worn shoe. Perfectly well-worn shoe. Dead true, dead neat. This guy walks dead straight. It's a lovely example of a pair of shoes that are ready for repair. The darkness inside, this shoe hasn't been worn for a while. That's because there's no smell, no nothing in there. It's been left and it's dried out completely now, but the darkness has remained. When we get shoes in that are dark inside and the chaps just took them off, when you're working on them and your hand goes inside, it feels cold. And the coldness is the dampness in the shoe. A lot of the time they don't smell. They don't, you know, years ago, we used to get shoes in that smell. We don't get it nowadays. We're all good with our hygiene. We all get a bath at least once a week or a shower. A lot of people like me shower twice a day. So sweaty, smelly feet, we don't get it anymore. The only time you do get a little bit is when somebody's maybe getting on a little bit, maybe can't control their bladder, and of course everything runs down and it ends up in the shoe, and you do get a shoe that smells a little bit pissy, shall we say, occasionally. But generally we don't see any of that nowadays, and Paul wouldn't really stand for it. So okay, just to recap then, we know this shoe 65% in the scale. The repair was an economical repair. The shoe is slightly overworn. And then it's in for its second repair, which the shoe will take, absolutely no problem. The guy walks dead straight and true. We've worked that out. The other thing that we see on the shoe, if this guy was a driver, guys that are sat in a car, their feet tend to roll over eventually, and we see marks on the uppers. And then all sorts of other things. If we see marks where there's a wear line on a shoe like that or like that, and it's where a guy's been sat at his office desk and he's got his feet underneath and he's working away like that, and you end up with some crazy angles, wear marks on the where he's got his feet under there and the carpet, the friction, and he's rubbing his feet away. This guy doesn't work in an office. I think he's probably a salesman. So he's not on a stool either, because on a stool you get marks left in there that show that the shoe's been. So I'm going to say this guy, he's 5'6". He's wearing a shoe slightly too big for him. He's a salesman. He's right-handed. He's walking a lovely, straight, true path through life. He's probably. Does you think so?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Because they come in a couple of years ago and got some tablets off me.
Oh, right, okay. So because we can. Maybe he doesn't that much walking.
You felt that were good then, didn't you?
I'm going to say, yeah. How did you tell that? I thought I'm the detective. I can tell you about this guy and his shoes. They are lovely, lovely old shoes. I hope he does come back, and I hope he does get a repair done to them, because they're here and they're ready, and they'll turn out lovely.